Lisa, thank you for coming onto the podcast. I'm so glad that you took me up on my offer. Um, I wanted to get you on here because I wanted more people to understand what's involved when it comes to fostering. So, and just hear your story. So, actually, I just realized my window's open and I can hear aeroplanes because the sun's out. So, bear with me
No
2
worries.
seconds. I don't know if you could hear that.
No, I can definitely.
Do not. Oh my God, she's just looking at me. She's just like,
How's it going?
pardon?
How's it going?
Yeah, really good, really good. When I went to go pick Duna up, she was really scared. She was really weary. She was very nervous. She was shaking. And then that night, she snuggled with me, which I thought was very strange because she seemed really nervous up until that point. And then for the first 3 days, it was touch and go with going to the toilet because she wouldn't do it outside, even though we had gone for walks 3, 4, 5 times. Right. So thankfully I have dog-friendly carpets that are bleachable. And I bought one of those spot and stain removing Hoover thingies. So, and the anti-mark spray and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I think I just had to be consistent with her to let her know there will be opportunities, regular opportunities. You don't need to go inside. And I really, really did my best. And I think I've achieved that by not shouting at her or raising my voice or anything. If it happened, it happened. And yeah.
I mean, sometimes it takes a while. I mean, it's a whole new routine, new house, new smells. You know, they have a lot of anxiety. They don't know where to go or when they're going to get an opportunity to go. So some dogs get it quicker than others, I think. Just persevere and be patient.
Well, yeah, no, it paid off because day 3, 4, now I know she's regular in the morning. She does 1 and 2 in the morning, and then in the evening she does another 1 and 2. Actually, she does a couple of wees in the evening. But after that, she doesn't want to do anything. She is just permanently sleeping.
Yeah, just because she's catching up, just feeling relaxed, and just now she has the opportunity. She feels safe, and she's just catching up. Or you think she's just a very chilled dog?
I don't know. I've read that it's common for greyhounds to sleep about 16 or 18 hours a day. I do worry, though, that she's unstimulated, although I don't know how much stimulation she needs. So I try, because she's very food motivated, I try to give her treats that are wrapped up in a puzzle. So whether it's an Amazon box or a package or, what else have I used? I've got a couple of treat snuffle mats. So I hide things, I put them in her. But she gets frustrated really quickly. She just gives up really quickly. She's just like, no, I haven't got time for this shit.
I generally think they don't actually need a great deal of mental stimulation. I mean, mine, yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I like the breed, because they go for a walk and they sleep. It's not like an Alsatian, I don't need to do dog agility or, give them puzzles to keep them entertained. They're like, run, sleep, run, sleep.
That's kind of it, yeah. It's strange because it feels counter, like, is that all there is? You know
really,
what I mean?
That probably is all there is. I wouldn't worry about it. The only thing mine do, I think I may have mentioned it, is like they love antlers. The
yes, the antlers. Of course, you did mention this. Hold on,
yeah,
I'm going to make a note.
The only kind of additional stimulation they get is that they all, bizarrely, about sort of 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, get an antler, get in their beds and like chew.
Yeah. Okay, well, that might satisfy them. What I have been doing is taking her for walks around Ferring on a long lead. Right. And she really enjoys that because she gets to stretch her legs. And I do my very best to keep up with her. But there gets to a point where she's just like, she's like a gazelle or like a horse, where she's just properly stretching her legs. And I'm like, like behind her, trying to hold on to her. But she goes so fast. And then there's a point where the line, obviously, is no longer slack. And I don't want to hurt her. So I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have to trot. We're going to have to canter through this. But I'm going to book a enclosed field for her so that I can to get her to just run free, because that must be so satisfying.
Yeah, 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 100%. They love that. Yeah, I think it's good for them to kind of burn off the energy that way as well.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't have much energy to burn. I'm not sure where that energy would come from, where she stores it, but yeah, bless her. She's super cute. Thank you for asking. I also wanted to actually, while we're talking about Duna, just briefly, I wanted to ask you about your dogs. So, just for context, anybody that's listening, um, I met Lisa a couple of weeks ago. Basically, Project Galgo asked for some pictures of their dogs, rescue dogs who are currently in foster, and so I went to Lisa's house to photograph her dog, China. And I photographed all of her dogs. She's got 3 dogs, and loved it. So yeah, that's how we met. And because Lisa's a foster, I just thought it would be interesting to get her on the podcast, ask a couple of questions, and see, you know, maybe we could pique someone's interest about fostering, whether that is with the Galgos or Podencos or any breed of dog, really. So yeah, I would love for you to tell me first about your journey as in fostering, how you started, and then kind of lead into the dogs that you currently have.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. And I've always followed various rescue organisations on social media, but never had the opportunity to foster because I worked, and I've sort of managed my own dogs with dog walkers and that sort of thing. But during the pandemic, obviously we worked from home, and I thought it was a great opportunity to actually try fostering for the first time. So that was about 5 years ago. And the very first foster dog that I got was a little Podenco called Maddie, who I mean, talk about in at the deep end. I don't know if you know anything about Podencos. They're incredibly sensitive dogs. They're very intelligent. Again, she was from Spain. She'd been used by a hunter. I mean, you can only begin to imagine what sort of life she'd had. She was so traumatized when she came to me. She was so fearful of people. She spent the first 3 weeks in a crate. That I obviously left the door open, and put a big blanket over it, so it was just like a little den for her. But that was her safe space. And it was really eye opening and really shocking, to see such trauma in such a sweet little dog. And it was an interesting journey for all of us as a family to see a dog that was so shut down. So we literally spent 3 weeks ignoring her. We didn't get eye contact, and she would just watch. She would watch how we interacted with our dogs, and eventually she got a little more confident. She'd come out of her crate, she'd interact with us, she'd lie in the sun when we were in the room, and so that was the start of our foster journey. Eventually, she found a home, a wonderful home, with another dog, and we sort of took a moment to have a bit of a break, and then I think it was such a rewarding experience. I mean, it was difficult, and you learn a lot about yourself and your kind of ability to cope, and how much patience you have. And I think it comes from a place of understanding, really, that these dogs have experienced such a horrific time. um, you almost feel a little bit responsible to sort of demonstrate to them that not all people are bad. Like,
Yeah.
undo some of the trauma and the damage that has been done. So yeah, that was Maddie, and then it's been a full systems go after that. Sort of consecutively, I've fostered a few other Podencos, and Galgos, and a couple of crossbreeds that needed a home as well. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, I'm sure. Just quickly going back to Maddie, did you know anything about her background? Did they give you any details?
Not a huge amount, but I think because they're picked up as strays in Spain, and they are used as tools by hunters, and so the rest is a guesswork. But I think there's enough known about the way hunters treat these dogs to know that she would have had a pretty horrific time. They don't look after them. They keep them in horrendous conditions. They half starve them because they want them to be good hunters. They
Really?
believe that if they are hungry, they'll be better hunters. It's interesting that China, that I have at the moment, she's got quite a weird relationship with food. And this is the first time I've really experienced it, is that
Doona too.
she is scared to take food off of me. One
Yeah,
of the things that I recently learned is that hunters will kind of he instill that negative connection with food, because when they catch something like a hare or a rabbit, they don't want them to eat it.
right.
So I think, yeah, and even now she won't. She'll take food out of my hand, but not my husband or Lucas, my son. Um,
Wow.
just me. And even then, she's really kind of like, she sort of, comes up really slowly, grabs it out of my hand and runs. I think she's afraid she's going to get, that's the sort of body language that I'm sensing, is that she's afraid that, there's something bad's going to happen to her with food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about resource guarding?
Oh,
Have you had any of that?
none at all. No, it's really interesting. Like I haven't had any of the fosters have had a resource guarding problem. They've all been pretty chilled. I mean, it's something you can get on top of quite quickly. And if there's any kind of glimmer of being possessive about food, I can't have that because of my dogs. So it's something, I've got to get on top of quite quickly. But it's never been an issue.
How would you typically get on top of that?
It's just a case of well, when I've just sort of pushed them away from their food. So like I am the pack leader in that kind of context, so that they don't feel that they have to guard their food. So I mean, I wouldn't put myself in danger, and I've never been bitten. My dogs have never been bitten, and the most of these dogs are 100% not aggressive. They're just completely more likely to sort of, dart away than kind of lunge at you. But I think, what they've experienced, there is an element of, well, they've been half starved, so they're going to be a little bit like frantic with food. But you have to kind of make them understand that the other dogs also need their space. So at the moment, although it's not resource guarding, but what China does is she just eats her food, and then she'll wander over and try and eat Willow's food while Willow is eating her food. And no, you can't do that away from
Yeah.
there. But I think, I'm
Yeah.
not shouting at her, but I just need her to understand that, well, Willow's food is Willow's food, and she's finished her food, so then she needs to just wait and she'll get her treat afterwards, and that sort of thing. It's just getting them in the routine, and as soon as they know they're going to get fed regularly, all these kind of fears and anxieties they have generally just fall away.
Yeah. That must be so nerve-wracking as a dog. I mean, they literally depend on us for everything, and especially routine. So not having that, I cannot imagine the level of anxiety that that must produce, where you are entirely dependent
You don't know when you.
on someone else to make decisions for when you can eat, when you can wee, when you can have water.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, it's horrendous. But I think because of what I do, I work from home. Literally Groundhog Day every day. It's the same routine. Get up at the same time, go for a run with them. They come back, they have their breakfast, they sleep. And do you know what I mean? It's literally sort of rinse repeat every day. Apart from the weekends, there's a bit of variation, but generally they get their walks and their food at the same times. And I think that's really
Yeah,
comforting for a dog to have that kind of that repetition, especially in the early days, when they're kind of just, settling in.
I agree. So I know that you've got a back garden, but typically, how often would you say that? Have you observed how often they would go out to relieve themselves in a day, or maybe just go for a wander or a sniff?
Again, so I have some chickens that free range in the back garden. So I need to be
missed those.
Did you miss him? Oh, you didn't see the chickens? Oh, okay. They're at the top, at the very top of the garden. There's a kind of enclosure for them, but they're used to kind of free ranging around the whole garden. So I have to make sure the chickens are away before the dogs come out. So again, that's part of the routine. So I can't just let them out whenever they want. So they go out in the morning for a wee, and then lunchtime I let them out, and then I've noticed with China, especially after food, she seems to need a wee. Then yeah, then just after they've had their food about 4, and then they all sort of settle down and munch antlers and that sort of thing, and then last thing at night.
Okay. So you give them dinner at 4 p.m.? Oh, okay. What time do they typically go to bed?
Well, they go to bed when I go to bed. And I go to bed quite early because I'm up quite early. So about 9:20, usually let them out. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
And then when they come in, they have a little treat, and then they just all trot off to their beds, and that's it.
And they sleep all the way through. I've
Unless
noticed
they
with
hear a fox or something outside, and then they're all barking. But yeah, generally they're all sleep down here together.
do they tend to be okay with strange dogs, as in like new dogs in the park or whatever?
Again, all of the dogs that I fostered have been fine with dogs that we meet on walks. Uh, some are completely, you know, disinterested when they see another dog. They're not bothered. Others, like China, loves meeting other dogs, and she loves having a sniff and going up to say hello. And she'll get a bit bouncy if, like, she gets excited, like she wants to go and say hello. So I usually say to somebody, is it okay if she says hello? And that generally they're fine with that, and she'll go over and have a sniff and a little bounce
Yeah,
around. But yeah, I haven't had
that's good.
I haven't had any dogs that have had any issues with other dogs, other breeds. So yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I have slight fear that firstly, having strange dogs run up to her, I think she will be fine, but you just don't know. It's so unpredictable. I mean, if they like their body language might be rude or invasive, intrusive.
yeah.
Um, I don't know how she would react. And the second thing I would be weary of is smaller, fluffier dogs. Anything that resembles a hare. I don't know if
It's a legitimate concern.
yeah.
And I would definitely proceed with caution. But generally, I think we underestimate dogs. I think they can tell the difference between a cavapoo and you know, a rabbit. What I have to be careful of is that they still have that chase instinct. So they might know it's a cavapoo, but if that cavapoo starts running across a field, they're going to run after it. They're not going to hurt it, but that's their instinct, is to kind of chase any dog or anything that they
Yeah.
see. Um, we had a particularly bouncy, I think it was a spaniel dog, and it came over, and it was wanted to play with China, and China was bouncing around, and she didn't mean to, but she just kind of knocked it over. It was fine,
Yeah.
but she was just being
Yeah.
really bouncy and playful, and it was quite small, and she sort of, I was like, oh, it was, it just sort of rolled over and carried on playing. But I think you have to be careful that and they're big dogs as well, so if they go charging towards a small fluffy dog, generally the owner of that dog is going to be quite worried.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna lose their minds.
Yeah.
I would. Oh my god.
So I try and I do. I mean, if I see anything small and fluffy, just generally keep them under control, put them back on the lead, that sort of thing. Although
Yeah,
all
that's
of
what
the
I
foster
tend to
dogs that I
do.
have um, stay on the lead.
Yes. Yeah, they do tell you that when you start fostering under no
Let
circumstances.
them off.
And also, do your dogs have a GPS? No. How come? Out of curiosity.
Well, Willow doesn't go very far anyway now. Being 3-legged and quite not old, but she's about 7 or 8 now, so she only goes sort of to the park and back. And Ruby just doesn't need one.
No, but China, because she is a Project Galgo dog, isn't she?
She is a Project Galgo dog, but she had a bit of a sort of a rash, like a sort of itchy rash, and she's still got it a little bit in her feet, but her neck was getting sore. So I took it off for a while. Um, and I use it on the walk, but I just don't have it on in the house because, I mean, you've seen
Well, yeah, no,
she can't she couldn't get out of my garden even if she wanted to. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I try and leave her neck kind of free of things when she's in the house.
Yes, same. Duna doesn't have anything on her when we come home. In fact, she waits for me at the door when we come back in so that I unclip her. It's weird because it's like it's all this armor, isn't it? And it's
Big
heavy.
harness, trapper,
Yeah,
collar. Yeah,
exactly. Again, going back to the concept of being dependent on this human being, and having all of this kind of, it's not restraints, but you know what I mean?
it sort
Like,
of is, you know. And I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, dogs trust us. They trust us to look after them and do the right thing by them. And when you break a dog's trust, I think, you know, they really it's they're traumatized. And you have to kind of start again. And that's what you do as a foster. You start again, building that trust back up again. And you know, that's a process that takes time.
yeah. I actually this morning, when I took her for a little wee walk, a nature break, um, we walk around the block because I work full time. We walk around the block, and what I found is, and I knew this anyway, but for some reason I thought this only really happens at night. We've got loads of foxes in the area. They live in the bush. There's a fox family in the bush here behind the flat where I live, and another bush across the road from me, and another one. So, anyways, doing this quick little walk with her, there was bundles of food in various places.
Right?
And yeah, because the local people, everyone looks after the
Oh,
foxes
okay,
here. We
right.
we all care
Oh, that's
about
good.
the
Right.
foxes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, but she wants to eat the food. So I feel terrible because I have to be like, no, no. And then I have to kind of like, she's so strong, I have to pull back her harness so that she doesn't go and gobble up all the food. Um, and I think this morning, actually, she found a puddle. This is so gross, but she found a puddle of vomit or something, it looked like. And she just went to eat it. And I was like, no. My instinct was like, no. And as soon as I went, no, she went,
Yeah.
she had such a big
Yeah.
reaction to my
Reaction.
reaction. And
Yeah.
I just thought, like, oh, I didn't mean to scare you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that must be
That's it.
quite scary seeing.
Like a little example like that is it's an insight into their sort of quite deep seated trauma. Um, because you know that's such an exaggerated response to such a fairly sort of insignificant. You just went like, oh no, or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
first thing they do is go into sort of, you know, protective flight mode because previous
Yeah.
experience has taught them that
Oh,
I
100%. I
point.
changed the bin bag yesterday, and when you like pull out a new one and you put some air in it so that it opens and you can put it into the bin. I just went whoosh, and she was like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
and I, and I just thought to myself, "It's okay, honey." So I shook it ever so slightly closer to her gently so she could see it's nothing to worry about.
Desensitizing
Um,
her a little bit, yeah.
yeah, but I do worry in those moments whether you're actually exacerbating the.
No, I don't think so. I think it's I mean, what part of your job as a foster is getting um these dogs used to being in a home environment. And I think you have to kind of desensitize them a little bit to household stuff that
Yeah.
is might be a little bit frightening, but they need to learn isn't it's not going to hurt them.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's been 6 days now, and she's still terrified when we go for walks, unfortunately. Any cars, she's terrified of cars. In fact, she doesn't even like her ears don't even perk up when I call her name or anything. She's terrified of cars, other people. So yeah, I'm gently introducing her to that, but she absolutely loves going for walks near Ferring. There's a huge big field, open field or grass field, like a open air park.
Mm.
Not open air park. What am I saying? Anyways, there's a big
Sort of park area.
park area, yeah, close to the beach, and so yeah, I put her on the long lead, and there's a wooded area as well,
Wow.
and yeah, she just kind of runs free-ish. And what I noticed was, you were talking about prey drive earlier. What I noticed with her is she'll go to the bushes and her little paw will come up like a pointer. She doesn't have a pointy tail, but her paw comes up as if she's like stalking her prey, and she's just looking, and she's like almost like a snake gliding through the
Concentrated
bushes.
on the noise and the smell. I think they're listening as well.
Listening everything, like, but a few days ago when we did that, she did see something, and I swear if I wasn't there, she would have gone head first into a bush without any care in the world what's on the other side, or if a stick pokes in her eyeball, or you know what I mean. Like, she's
I
just
know.
like,
I mean, I've
she's
dragged China
savage.
out of a bush before because, you know, she's
Oh, you have?
really kind of lunged into like a load of brambles and stuff. And I'm like, no, no, come out of there. She's sort of like, you know, sort of twig stuck to her head. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they can hear and smell things, you know, that we can't. So
Yeah.
it takes time.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to know how to, and if you have any ideas, that would be amazing. How to kind of stimulate that side of her, those innate behaviors, so she still gets that satisfaction, but without harming anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of people don't want to encourage their sort of hunting instinct, their prey drive too
Oh,
much, because you know it's sort of. I think the end goal really is at some point you would like to be able to let them off the lead. So I think I could be wrong, but I think encouraging their prey drive might make them harder to rehome, 'cause that's a lot of people have concerns about their prey drive, don't they? But that said, my very first lurcher that I got, we used to take him lure coursing.
okay, yeah.
So, we'd all meet up in a field and, because he used to love to run. So,
Uh-huh.
they would have categories of dogs like whippets, deerhounds, greyhounds, lurchers, and then just the lure across the field, and they'd all chase it.
Can't see anything wrong with that. I mean, if that's their innate nature and behavior, why on earth would you want to suppress that?
No, I know. That was a sort of a kind of a way of channeling it in a really sort of safe environment. All of the dogs were muzzled. That was a prerequisite, you know. But they're just because they're all in a they're all chasing, and they're in that kind of heightened hunting mode.
Hunting
I
mode,
mean,
yeah.
they don't want any dogs to get hurt, so they all muzzle them, you know, just with the kind of, you know, the cake.
Do they think they turn on each other?
Well, you don't know, do you? You don't know whether someone's dogs. You just don't. It's a very sort of small measure to prevent any, you know, squabbles or anything happening, or you know, if they all dived on the lure, if they caught up with it, you don't know what's going to happen. So they're all muzzled. I'm 100% agree with that. I think that's just a safety precaution, really. But it was really good fun, and Dylan really enjoyed it. You know, that was he just he was he had a really strong prey drive, and we were lucky we lived somewhere else, and there were fields without any sort of livestock in them, but rabbits, and he'd just be gone chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really hard. I did some volunteer dog walking over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and it was with a Whippet Border Collie cross. And oh my goodness, if there was even a hint of squirrel anywhere, he would be off
yeah,
making a beeline for it. So many squirrels. I'm sorry. I try to avoid it as much as I could, but he would come back with a squirrel in his mouth. So proud.
yeah,
So proud.
yeah.
His his owner ended up putting a little bell around his neck so the squirrels could hear him coming.
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, the squirrels around here seem really blasé. I mean, I was coming back from a run, and I had both Ruby and obviously China was on the lead, and I had Ruby on the lead as well. And there was a squirrel like stood in the road in front of us, and I think the dogs clocked it before I did, and then the squirrel ran, and the pair of them nearly had me over. I was like, you know, when you suddenly like, I didn't in that split second, I should have let go of Ruby, but my brain just froze. So I was holding on to both of them whilst I was like almost dragged, my
Goodness.
feet. Luckily, it shot up
Yeah.
a tree and they were like, oh, barking.
Thankfully.
Yeah. But I think a lot of dogs have a thing for squirrels, don't they? I don't think it's specifically a sight hound specific kind of issue. I think all.
Really, I didn't know that. I thought it was really just sight
No,
hounds.
my mum's got a poodle cross Dalmatian, and he chases foxes and squirrels as well. Goes mad when he sees them. So yeah, I think I think most dogs have got a bit of a prey drive. I mean, yeah, they're hunters, aren't they? They're predators, so they're bound to have.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a weird concept to think of them in that way, but it is true. Yeah. Even when I cuddle Duna, there's a small part of in the back of my head that's like, be careful. They are unpredictable. They can be, yeah.
I've never
But she's
really,
just so gentle. I can't imagine.
yeah, I've
Hmm?
just never really had a dog that I thought that. I've always they've just been very much like I'm very conscious that they are terrified, some of them, and so scared, and that your interaction with them in the early days just puts more stress on them.
Yeah.
I've never ever once felt like they would turn on me, and that's
No.
saying something, because it, based on the sum total of their life experiences before they come to me, you think that they would be
They've
really,
hit the jackpot now. Mm.
really snappy with humans, because humans have done to them is hurt them.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's a human perspective, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, really. But the dogs are just, I guess, I don't know. Maybe there's a part of them just that needs to trust again, and
They're so resilient, aren't they? It's just considering everything that they go through, their capacity for love is infinite.
yeah,
Either that or just tolerance.
yeah.
I went to the documentary screening of Dogspiracy a couple of weeks ago.
Did you, Mark Abrahams? Oh yeah, he's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very,
really,
very
really
long time
inspirational.
ago. He was my vet. Yes,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Ah. Well, we live in the South. It's such a small world. I think there's like 2 degrees of separation.
Well, yeah, and I just really warmed to him because I took Dylan, my lurcher that I was telling you about there, and he put he said, "Oh, do you mind if I put a picture on social media of Dylan?" And I was like, "Oh, yes," because usually people are like, they pick the fluffy, cute ones, don't they? But he was like, "Oh, Dylan's a beautiful dog. Can I put a picture of him on social media?" I was like, "Oh, 100%, go for it."
Cute.
And yeah, he's just such a nice guy. Does a lot of amazing work. Just very broadly, not just dogs, but for animal sort of advocacy as well. Yeah, he's an amazing person. With
Yeah.
who's the actor who he Peter, someone that he also.
Egan?
Yes, yeah, Egan. That's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like? I wanted to go and see it, but also I didn't, because the subject.
I had the same concern, if I'm honest. I was really worried because I've spent most of my life looking away. I just cannot, I don't have the constitution,
No,
if I could call it that, to like, you
be
know,
confronted with it.
exactly. And recently when I kind of started this whole dog journey, I've been telling myself, don't look away. Like I'm building that. Is it resilience?
Resilient.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
I wanted to protect my own innocence. I never wanted to get to a point where I was so desensitized where I'd be like, "Oh, that's normal." Oh, you know what I mean? So for context, there is a specific reason why. I used to live in Mexico many years ago, and in Mexico they have this type of newspaper called the amarillistas. It's or amarillista, something like that. It's like a yellow newspaper, and because of so much crime and cartel violence, these types of newspapers would have full front page photos and shocking headlines with people who were hung with, dead bodies, that kind of thing. And I used to be a school teacher, a kindergarten teacher. And so on the way to school in the mornings, you'd stop at the traffic light on the corner, turn to your left and see these newspapers. And I'd think, what about the kids on their way to school? Like, this is such a normal, ingrained part of life. And I remember at that moment, I will do everything I can to protect myself from normalizing things that shouldn't be normal. And so when it came to dogs specifically, I can't see it. The same with any injustice and animal cruelty. It's awful. But there's so many layers to that, so many layers. But anyways, so going back to the movie, I had the same concerns and I was really, really worried that I was going to sit there bawling my eyes out the entire time. But they've made it so beautifully and delicately that there's just enough sadness for you to understand the gravity of the situation without overshadowing the entire film.
Right.
With that. So you kind of understand the issue, the urgency, what's happening and why it's important and why it matters and why it shouldn't be happening. And then, it kind of, you go through a roller coaster of emotions really, but they're not extreme emotions.
So it's specifically dealing with the puppy mills in America, isn't it?
The puppy mills in America, yeah. I had no idea whatsoever that the puppy mills or the breeders tend to be, where did they go? It was in Alabama.
Is it the Amish?
Yes, the Amish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I also follow a few. One of my passions is heavy horses. So there's a few kind of like from way back from my childhood. My dad had a horse, and so there's a few kind of rescues. There's one called Colby's Crew, and what they do is they rescue these heavy horses, these work horses from the slaughter pipeline. So what happens is, and it's specifically the Amish because of the way they live their life, they don't have electricity or cars, but they could look after the horses that plough their fields. They could make sure that they have veterinarian care, but they don't. They work them to death and then send them to slaughter. And this organization specifically that I follow on social media is called Colby's Crew, and they go into the slaughterhouse and they rescue these workhorses and sort of rehabilitate them and show them compassion and love and kindness. And very often they're old and they don't get rehomed, but they provide them with a retirement, or worst case scenario, a dignified way out.
Yeah.
But same with the horses that pull like tourist carts in places like New York.
Oh yes, I saw there were kids standing on the side in Central Park screaming, just basically saying save the horses. It's awful. I've been there, I've seen it. It just, there's so many things that you just look around and you're like, how is this happening in 2025?
I went to Seville a few years ago, and beautiful city, but it was June and it was about 38 degrees. It was boiling, and everywhere you go there's horses with carts and that are waiting for tourists to hop on and have a tour around the city. And I was just thinking, that temperature, we were, diving from one sort of, air conditioned place to another because it was so hot, especially in the afternoon. But they were just stood there in the baking heat. I found that aspect particularly harrowing. Because again, once you open your eyes to this, once you see how wrong and how cruel it is, then it really, it sometimes that kind of overwhelms you a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's when we were walking along and they would sort of be like, oh, do you wanna go on the, horse ride? And my husband's like, just wrong person, don't ask her. Let's go. They're like, get them away from me. There's Yeah, it does provoke some quite sort of extreme feelings when you see that. But
Yeah,
it's sometimes it's just the scale of it, and you just think, why? Do you really think the horse is enjoying it? Do you think they're fine stood on tarmac day after day, and then dragging
in that heat
this heavy um a carriage around
carriage.
with tourists in sweat pouring off them. Do you think that's okay?
Yeah,
Do you think that's acceptable? Because I don't. I'll go on
yeah.
the bus and see the city. Thank you. I don't need to kind of like engage in animal exploitation for me to enjoy the experience. It's just wrong.
It's interesting because going back to the Amish, I remember Mark was saying, going there, experiencing that, seeing that, there was a real disconnect. The Amish, they would have these puppy mills, so like this, huge it's a warehouse or something with loads and loads of puppies, and obviously the mums just breeding, 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 breeding endlessly. And these people would also have their pet dog, but the pet dog would roam around freely outside and, enjoy their best life. And for some reason in their minds, they have pet dog and then the dogs that they breed for commercial purposes. It's so interesting to me how humans have the
Yeah.
ability to compartmentalize.
I mean, that's not even speciesism. That's just choosing one animal, going, I'm going to treat you completely differently to all the other dogs, that I'm going to
The money
exploit and
makers.
traumatize. And one thing I didn't get about the Amish, I didn't think they were all about. I didn't think they were about money making. I didn't think that was their thing. But I mean, based on what I have learned about them, is that there's only one reason you can have a puppy mill is to sell puppies, and people sell puppies for a lot of money.
Yeah, and especially if you see those.
Drivers, that's what's motivating them, is making a lot of money.
Yeah, I can't remember how much it was, but they totaled it in the film. I don't want to give too much away. I really, really want people to go and watch it. I think it's going to be released on
Is it?
Apple
Uh,
TV. I think so. I don't want to get that wrong, but I think it might be. But it will be available online soon. So if anyone is interested, it won't, like, it will upset you enough to, like, boil your blood a little bit, but it won't, it's not traumatizing, as in, so definitely watch it so you can tell more people and stop fueling this industry. Puppy buying is just ridiculous. And people are handing over puppies younger and younger and younger. Like, I spoke to someone recently who was telling me, oh, I think my dog has resource guarding, da da da. And, you know, I'm not an expert, but I said, how old is your dog? And they were like 7 weeks. And I was like, what are you doing with a 7-week-old puppy? They should not leave their mums until at least 12 weeks. I mean,
yes.
in an ideal world, they'd never leave their mums, but you know what I mean?
I
Like, it's such a important period in their life, and they just ripped away because someone is impatient and can't wait to have a puppy.
think it's also these breeders. I think we
Yeah.
had this discussion before about how I have quite sort of extreme views on breeders that perhaps some people might disagree with, and that's absolutely fine. But I do not think that there is such a thing as an ethical breeder. I just don't think. I mean, do yourself a favor, follow some animal rescue charities that are just overflowing with dogs that people get, and they purchase them for 800, 900 pounds. They get them past the puppy phase, and then they get into adolescence, and they start getting destructive, and they don't want to deal with them. They don't have the patience to deal with them going through that, so they just discard them. You know.
They discard them or they get devices to manage them.
Yes. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
also
it's a 1 billion-pound industry, I've recently learned. I cannot believe that there are so many people who rely on these tools. I understand that, like, if livestock, all that kind of stuff, the same as an electric fence. I understand that. Clear signal, do not go, do not hurt the animals. That for me is the only time where I could see that as being justified. But regular people with regular fluffy pets, chihuahuas, shih tzus, whatever, with these electric collars, I cannot.
I mean,
I cannot
all you're doing
justify it.
is traumatizing your dog and making the problem worse. You do not solve anything by using force or pain to manage a behavioral issue. Uh,
Yeah.
it's it's not going to make things better. You're just going to end up with an absolutely traumatized animal. It's cruel. I mean, again, have a bit of empathy. Imagine you walking around with an electric shock there, collar, and you engage in a behavior you don't know that's wrong. They don't know the difference between a fluffy toy and a slipper. You have to kind of see it from their point of view. They're just doing what dogs do. So, they're playing with something that they think is okay that's a toy, and then feel pain.
Yeah.
It's not something they understand. They don't understand why the pain's being inflicted on them half the time.
Yeah, yeah, the right
They're
and
doing is
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah, but they're not think that's a human concept as far as I understand it. They're not thinking, "Oh, I'm being naughty," or like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
being, I'm gonna push the boundary
yeah,
here." I think that some people understand dogs to do that, to have that,
yeah.
to be, I guess, conniving and spiteful and all these
They
kind of
have all
things.
the
I'm like,
humans
"No, I
have
don't think they have that
negative
capacity."
behavioral traits that we have, but they don't. They're just, I see people with dogs on leads and the dog is pulling and they're yanking the dog back, going, "Come here. I said, come here. Stop pulling me." What? You think the dog understands what you're on about?
Yeah,
It's just doing what dogs do. If you want to
yeah.
control it, I yanking it back repeatedly by its neck is probably not the best way. I mean, there are other ways of managing that sort of behavior that don't involve shouting at it and yanking it by its neck.
Well, yeah, but I think what I've observed, because I see that quite often actually. I I walked up to someone the other day and I was like, "Excuse me." She was on the phone and she had her dog, and her dog was just like kept sitting. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to go for a walk. And you can tell she's like,
Yeah,
on her phone having this conversation, deeply engrossed in that moment, but her dog was holding her back and she just kept yanking this thing. And yeah, I think she was in her own world with her own urgency and her own priorities. And I just said, "Excuse me, can you stop yanking your dog by its neck? I don't think that's."
appropriate. Yeah.
And she just looked at me as if to be like, "Did you see that?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think people realize what they're doing. It is almost like a reflex.
But I think what you do in that moment is you hold a mirror up to their behavior. And I think for a split second they're like, oh, maybe that is wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Well, yeah, but she wasn't engaged with what she was doing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If you're on a walk and your dog just wants to sniff everything, or you're rushing from A to B and you think, "Oh, I'll just fit in a quick walk," or whatever it might be, I I don't think I think the main thing I'm trying to convey here is that more often than not, people are not thinking about their
Mm,
dog's
yeah.
experience.
It's just
They're thinking about what's convenient for them.
something that they feel they need to do and need to get it over with as quickly as possible. They've got things to be doing. So yeah, it's they're doing a walk without considering what the dog needs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a routine. It's like, I have a dog. Dog must be walked once, twice a day. Um, I'm busy.
Yeah, let's get it over.
Do it quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's better than nothing. So if you really want to like start comparing things, it's better than nothing, because there are dogs that don't get walked at all.
yeah, yeah,
How we treat dogs is a reflection of who we are as individuals and as a society. They are mirrors to us, how we treat them.
yeah. It's it is hugely distressing when you see how they are treated when they fall into the wrong hands, though. And going back to the the hunting dogs in Spain, it's as soon as you start
Did,
doing your research, and I like again, I follow Galgo de Sol on social media, and you see how they're treated. And it is just, I'll use this dog as a tool and then I'll discard it at the end of the hunting season. They go to the
Sadistic.
next level to torment and torture that animal at the end of the hunting season if they're done with it. I mean, what I mean, what goes through somebody's head?
Well, it's the compartmentalizing, as we said before, like being able to stomach and justify the treatment of these animals. Something in you switches off. It must do. I cannot believe that we are born that way.
Well, I think with the hunters in Spain, that's just it's their culture. It's their
I know people from Spain in north, east, southwest, and
No, I'm not saying the people from Spain. I'm saying specifically the hunters that use them uh,
yeah.
as a tool. That is, and what Galgos del Sol does to try and break the cycle is they go into schools to try and educate the children. That is how you kind of break the cycle of that. Each generation growing up, the hunter's family, seeing how the father, always the father, treats the dog, and thinking that's acceptable. And then they go into school and they are taught, actually, no, that is not acceptable. You can't
Break the
treat animals like
conditioning.
that. Yeah. So that's, I guess, how we we start seeing some change. You know, as a parent, I've got a son, he's 14. I've taught him to always respect animals. He's grown up with dogs, been in the house while we've had all of these traumatized foster dogs coming through. And when he was in nursery, I got called in by the headmistress, and she said, "Your son has pushed a child against a wall." And I was like, "Well, that's unlike him." Anyway, it transpired that he was trying to guide a spider that was on the pavement to safety, and another kid came along and stamped on it, and he got angry and pushed him against the wall. Um, but actually, I was kind of super proud of him, because that's sort of the sort of thing that I'd instilled in him, that everything should have a chance to live its life. We've taken all the resources, we've taken over the countryside and everything. Um, but we have to make space for all of the creatures around us. They've got as much right as us to live. So yeah, I think it's down to the next generation, really, to kind of make some change.
I do think it will be different. I do think that they will make huge changes, and they're up against so much. I feel for them. I think I went to co-op the other day, and the boy behind the till, he asked me, and it was quite thought provoking. When you were, so he is a student at university. We just had a very brief chat, but he said, when you were my age, was it as hard as it is for us now?
God. Maybe.
He was asking about my career, and I said,
Okay.
"Oh, marketing." And he was like, "Oh, did you go to university?" And I said, "No." And he was just like, "Oh, do you think if you started all over again in this day and age,
Mm,
your career, do you think it would be as easy as it was?" And I was like, "Honestly, I don't think so."
no, no.
Yeah,
It's challenging, isn't it?
it's so challenging. But anyways, right, enough with the doom and gloom, because there are good things out there. There are good people out there, you being one of them.
Yeah.
Fostering. I'd like more people to foster. I'm going to ask you a couple of
Okay.
questions, and I just want you to focus on solutions, because I am sure that you have thought about these things to some degree. So, firstly, how can we get more people interested in fostering and adopting all dogs, not just Podencos and Galgos?
I mean, fostering is immensely rewarding. Um, One of the main reasons, actually, the predominant reason that people say they don't want to foster is because they can't let the dog go. Um, but I guess what I've always said to people is that, yeah, it's hard, but it's such an amazing, um, rewarding experience to have looked after a dog. You know, got it used to living in a home, and then it finds its forever home. I think we discussed this, that some of the people that have taken dogs from me that I fostered, um send me updates and say how amazing, their dog is getting on, and how wonderful it is, and how grateful they are that I fostered that dog. Um, and that's why you do it. And each time my foster dog goes to their home, I cry for about a day, and then I start again. But I think you have to put yourself out there a little bit. You have to kind of open yourself up to the hurt, um, but you get used to it. Not in a kind of like you put up barriers. You just get used to the whole process of, at some point, that dog will find their forever home, and you've done your bit, um, and that's hugely satisfying.
Yeah, I feel like fostering, what I'm realizing is fostering is not about me. It's not about the fosterer.
Mhm.
It's about the dog, the bigger picture. It's not about whether or not I'm going to be sad when eventually there's a forever home for the dog, because ultimately having another dog come and stay with me afterwards means that there is one less dog in a kennel somewhere.
Yeah.
Because as far as I understand it, it's a gridlock system. The longer the dogs the longer rescue dogs are in kennels, the fewer spaces are available to those who need them in an emergency.
And I think it also, if a dog has lived in a home, you have a better idea of, um, you know, lots of things that make it more rehomable, if you like. Whether it's good with children, whether it's house trained, whether it's good with other dogs. All of these things you can tick a box and go, yes, that they're good with dogs, they're clean indoors, and all of these things that would make them more rehomable, rather than in kennels where they're more likely to be a bit of an unknown quantity.
Yeah, the unpredictability, not entirely sure, and then having to start that entire process from zero. So how can we encourage more people to become fosters? Because I think it's just
Oh, to foster, I don't know. I mean, I hoped that people that I knew would foster, but nobody has, and I don't know why, and it's a shame. There might be reasons like that, and it just means that they don't have the sort of circumstances that make fostering possible. Um, yeah, I don't know. I wish more people would just put their heart on the line a bit, and take a chance. And there's a lot of support available if you foster through reputable sort of charities. They'll have behaviorists that can help you manage any problems. They'll try and match a dog to your specific circumstances. So it's not just like here's a dog,
Mhm.
and off you go. There's a lot of support as well that you have access to. So I think it's a leap of faith, and I think more people need to take it.
Do you know, when you think about all the benefits of fostering, for me, it's a no-brainer. You compare buying a dog to fostering. Like, okay, so buying a dog, you end up buying the dog, so you pay for the dog, you pay for the vaccinations if it's not already vaccinated, you pay for vet bills, you pay for, obviously food, you pay for grooming, nail clipping, hair, all that kind of stuff. You pay
True.
for insurance. Um, and then, things like toys and harnesses and whatnot, right? That's buying a dog. Fostering, on the other hand, you've got access, and training and all that kind of stuff separately with the bought dogs. With fostering, you have free access to behaviorists. The dog's vet bills are covered by the charity. Um, if you go on holiday, they can arrange cover for you. Um, with some charities, they provide you with dog food.
Yeah.
I
And
think,
rescue
like, if
backup as well. So if things really do go wrong, if
Mhm.
perhaps in some instances, perhaps the resident dog, doesn't cope with another dog coming in, then they will take that foster away, and try and place it with another home.
Yep.
I mean, that's worst case scenario, but in some instances that sort of thing does happen. Uh,
Yeah.
so they will manage that situation for you. You buy a dog, you're not going to take it back to the person. If you took it back to the breeder, they don't want to know. They're like, well, it's your problem now. I've got your money. No breeders take dogs back, do they? As
Yeah.
far as I'm aware.
So I know that some of them do. Some of them would, but not backyard breeders, of course not. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Comparing those two things, especially if you're unsure about whether or not to get a dog, because the commitment to get a dog is so big. It's like giving birth to a child. That's the level of responsibility people should look at it as, because it's for life.
Yeah. And you, there is a bit of a try before you buy thing. I mean, if you are
It is.
fostering, you get
Yeah.
the opportunity to live with a dog. And I mean, I've foster failed twice because, just for one reason or another, I couldn't bear to part with them. So,
Yeah.
occupational hazard, it happens. But yeah. So, if you're thinking of getting a dog, then you can foster these different breeds, and see how you get on with them. And yeah.
And then make a decision based on evidence, based on lived experience, rather than just hoping for the best and winging it. And
Yeah.
the poor dogs suffer,
Yeah.
and you're contributing to a problem ultimately. So, yeah, I would love for more people to realize that fostering is such an amazing thing, as in like a soft landing into um, having a forever dog, and also it I think it reflects back to us what we're made of, because when things get tough, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a leap of faith, but it's hugely rewarding. Hugely rewarding. Yeah. Very much so.
That's true.
Mm.
Okay. Another question for you. What do you think is maybe one or two potential solutions to the rescue crisis in the UK at the moment?
Don't know. Um, I think there is there seems to be an attitude with people that buy dogs that they are disposable in some way. That
Easy come, easy go.
work out, they can just dump them at rescues. And this is what's happening. And this has been happening since COVID, when people got puppies because they were suddenly working from home and they could, you know, a really short-sighted attitude, because obviously COVID was never going to last forever. And at some point everybody ended up having to go back to work, albeit, hybrid, what have you. But what the rescue centres found is that they were flooded with dogs. People were like, yeah, no, I don't have time for it anymore. So I think it's like, our attitude to dogs needs to change. They're not, they're not disposable. I've seen sort of posts about, and again, I'll probably get told off for this, but I need to get rid of my dog because I'm having a baby. Oh, I need to get rid of a dog because I'm moving house. It's like,
Your
no, you're there are very few circumstances, in my opinion, where you should get rid of your dog. And if you get a dog and you think you're going to get pregnant, then you need to manage that situation. Why have you got a dog and then suddenly you've got a baby and then I haven't got time, I'm going to get rid of the dog? It's not fair. I think we've evolved to have a very casual relationship with our canine friends, that we're just like, oh, they don't fit in with our lifestyle anymore, I'll just get rid of it. And there needs to be something in place where people are made more responsible, and it isn't just a case of, oh, I'll just dispose of it. I'd maybe we need to go back to registration. So we used to have to register dogs.
Oh, you used to have
Yeah,
to.
yeah, 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 yeah. A long time ago, you used to have to register your pets. And I think that might be the solution, going back to that system. Um, Having people a bit more responsible for the dogs. And I don't know, it's something that keeps me awake at night. The fact that you see these kind of harrowing things, don't you? Where people drop their dogs off to um, a rescue center, and that dog doesn't understand. It waits for you. It waits for you to come back. It pines. It's depressed. It's traumatized. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand why one minute they're in a loving home, the next minute they're uh, in a kennel surrounded by lots of distressed dogs and barking. It's I don't understand how people can do that.
Yeah. I find with a lot of these things, I really, when I think about dogs, I think about small children.
Mm.
And if I look at the way that the world treats them, and that I don't want to discount or disregard any of the amazing humans doing amazing things, because there are good people out there doing good things for dogs. But when I compare the treatment of dogs versus the treatment of maybe small human beings,
Yeah.
and you see the disparity, is really interesting to me, how the brain is capable of doing that, of justifying,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, it's a problem that needs a solution because um so many perfectly good dogs are put down because they can't be rehomed. You know, the rescue centers are overflowing, you know. Oh, they can't keep accepting dogs, and if they don't accept them, what's going to happen? Do people just like dump them? They go to some remote place and chuck their dog out the car and drive away.
yeah. I don't know mentally.
Mentality, yeah. No,
I-
no. It
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it is shocking, and then again, it's our attitude needs to change. I think
Yeah.
that's the
So the root cause, I read somewhere recently, they said where there's a animal hurting, there's a human hurting. So the root cause of suffering is human suffering. So technically, if that is the case, then what can we do to kind of address the issue at the root to ensure that there's a positive knock-on effect for every other species as a result? You know what I mean? If you reverse engineer and you just kind of like, okay, it starts, the common denominator is the human being, and then reverse engineer to the psychology, I guess, of it, of the choices and decisions that we make, and then how that impacts on other species. That kind of superiority. I don't know
entitlement
what.
as well. I think a little bit, you know. Um, yeah, yeah, it's if there was an easy solution, I think it would have been found by now. But I think it's a much deeper problem. Um, and you know, in 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 life, when someone is frustrated and you know things aren't going well, and they want to take their frustrations out on someone, you know, it's the dog that gets kicked. Do you know what I mean? In sort of abusive households, it's I mean, rescues take dogs from abusive households because they're the first ones that get bear the brunt of any frustration that's going on in someone's life. They don't have a voice, you know. They're they can be, you know, kicked and hit, and you know that's the easy way out, isn't it? When you want to
Mhm.
vent your frustration.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just like, my brain is saying, computer says no.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
no, no. That's how a normal brain should work. That's how any brain should work. Is that you know that you are frustrated. You don't take your frustration out on someone or something. You find an outlet for it that is healthy. Yeah, life can be difficult sometimes, but you don't lash out at the people in your life or the animals in your life. That's not
uh
acceptable.
yeah, healthy outlets for frustrations, or better vocabulary, or self-soothing techniques, or more productive and constructive, outlets
Yeah.
for dealing with very human feelings, but in healthy ways. I think probably that's potentially, yeah, that is a potential solution. Unfortunately, it will take an entire generation to get there. But starting with children and teaching them healthy ways of dealing with very human feelings
Yeah.
could be a way to address some of the knock-on effects of, and that compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Gosh, being a human is so complicated and stressful.
Yes. No, it
So
is. It
stressful.
really is.
Um, so I'd like to end with something positive. So I would like for you to maybe share with me one of your most rewarding experiences in your fostering journey.
I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, they're all rewarding. They are all rewarding, and they all kind of have a special place in my heart. Um, I mean, I think Maddie probably was the most rewarding. The first one, the most like I have not had a dog with that level of trauma since. So probably watching her journey to recovery, the small wins when we'd be sitting watching television and she'd creep out of her um crate and just like lie near us, and we'd be sat there going, getting really like, it's not,
Ice cool,
not
ice
looking,
cool.
not looking, don't look. And then one I was out, and Andy sent me a photo, and she'd come upstairs, and she was sleeping under his desk. So he'd sort of taken a photo, just completely ignored her, you know. Um, the reason we were still ignoring her at that stage, because if you went to put your hand towards her, like even slowly, or even made a move towards her, she'd run away. So we were very much being guided by her. Um, yeah, that was phenomenal. Just her journey was one that was so sort of rewarding and heartbreaking as well.
How long did you foster her for?
It's probably about 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months. Oh, wow. So where is she now?
Um, she is near Tunbridge in Landerville. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but such such a kind of intelligent and sensitive dog. Whatever had happened to her had really, um,
Stir up.
the level of the depth of the trauma was really, really deep. The betrayal of trust was so profound that, being the one to help rebuild that was just a privilege, really. It was a privilege.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. It was challenging, but you know, the first few weeks you were like, what can I do to make this better? But there's nothing you can do. You just have to be patient, and let them come round at their own pace. There's no point forcing it. There's no point, shoving your head in a crate and trying to engage with her, because she wasn't at that point yet. That would just stress her out. So we just
Yeah.
leave food down for her. She'd leave the door open, she'd go out, come back in again, but just very, very little. Like, if she wanted to interact with us, then she came to us rather than the other way around. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The way it should be with all dogs, really,
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
not just
Not
rescues.
all dogs want you in their face, like, getting your face near them, and that's again a very human way to interact sometimes.
Yeah, well, this is the thing is human centric. I realized that in my own journey that I've always been a dog lover, but it's only I think the last 3 4 years where I realized, ooh, the way I've been loving dogs have been about me.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that shift happens and it's like, whoa, make it go back,
Yeah, yeah,
make the switch turn back,
yeah, yeah,
because,
yeah,
yeah, once you see, you can't unsee and it's everywhere.
yeah, yeah. It's true.
Everywhere. But yeah, I think ultimately the important thing is, and this is why the podcast exists, it's about having these discussions, having an understanding of whether or not the experience I'm having and things I'm observing are central to me, or other people are seeing and noticing similar things. And then, potentially, hopefully one day getting to a point where I have enough of an understanding of the landscape to then, I guess, understand what needs to be done or what can be done or where to start to make a big impact. Not a big impact, because sometimes you don't need a big impact to make a change or make a difference. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like understand the landscape, what can be done, and how I can be most useful.
You're being most useful. right now, you're being most useful. You're fostering, you're making a huge difference. Um,
It's the scale of the problem
yeah, but
that makes it feel,
you can't look at the scale because you'll get overwhelmed by it.
yeah.
I can't remember the exact quote, but something along the lines of, "Oh, you can't make a difference to every dog, but you'll make a difference to the dog that you foster," or something. I can't remember, but it's very much like, don't be overwhelmed by the scale of the issue. You know, just do what you can. Make a difference in those small ways each day. You're fostering, I foster, all the other amazing people that foster dogs, foster children, that put themselves out there, and go on that journey. You are making a difference to that child, to that dog, to that cat, whatever you do. So that's the thing, isn't it? If everybody did a little bit, it would be a phenomenal groundswell of change.
Yeah. And it's possible.
Do that yourself. You can only do what you can do, and that's enough.
Yes, I have to keep telling myself that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to get to a point where it will be scalable.
Well, let me know.
That's what I'm working towards, a scalable solution. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I'm hoping I'll get there.
Keep me in touch.
We're building an army.
Yes. Well, that's what it takes.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the ripple effects, isn't it? Like the small changes, shifts in thinking. Because really what you're up against isn't individuals.
Yeah.
It's a system.
Yeah.
It's a way of thinking. It's a way of operating in the world. And so if you want different results, you have to change the system. But when that system is synonymous with identity and people, A, struggle to look at themselves, and B, don't identify in certain ways, like there's that disconnect between who they are and how they behave, and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just so complex. That's for another day. I'll just park it right here. But this conversation has been super interesting for me, and insightful. Thank you so much, and I've really enjoyed having a chat with you.
Twice.
Hopefully, who knows, maybe one day we can get you back on. How is China doing, by the way?
Just fine. Yeah, she's crashed out in her bed at the moment. We did the 6K run this morning, so she's
6K.
Yeah. So she comes back, has a breakfast, goes a little bit bonkers, and then absolutely crashes out. just completely sparko until around 12:01 when they get let out again. So yeah, they're all being very well behaved and quiet. I haven't had a delivery. That was one of my things. I was thinking, if I get a delivery, they're all going to go start barking. But luckily, I think we managed to get through it without that. So
they'd be really good. Yeah. Amazing internet connection. No computers have crashed. Dogs haven't barked. I think the universe has conspired to make sure that this happens.
The stars have aligned. Amazing.
Exactly. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on.
I
hope you have a lovely rest of your day and weekend.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I'll chat with you again soon.
All right. Thanks very much for having me. Cheers.
See you, Lisa. Bye.
Bye.